Hello and welcome to a brand new season of Setting the Pace here on Zuku Sports. This is the only show of its kind that gives you news, views and exclusive interviews about athletes and all major athletics events happening in Kenya, East Africa and around the world. My name is Sadiq Shaban. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at the biggest event that has been the 14th edition of the World Championships in athletics that just concluded in Moscow, and the winners, the losers, and all the big news that came out of Russia. Later on, we're going to have one or two experts in the studio just take us through all that, plus much more. Stay tuned. Very well, let's now catch up quickly with what's been happening in athletics this week. So much has been in discussion. All 5 gold medalists from Kenya to the just concluded World Championships in athletics will be rewarded by the government of Kenya. Deputy President William Ruto revealed that each gold medalist will walk home with 1.5 million shillings, while silver medalists will be rewarded by government of Kenya by 750,000 shillings, while bronze medalists will receive 500,000 Kenyan shillings. The team is expected to be feted officially by President Uhuru Kenyatta when he returns to Kenya from his tour of Russia and China. In Uganda, the freshly minted world champion Stephen Kiprotich is said to receive the biggest prize money perhaps in Africa after winning his second gold medal in 1 year. Kiprotich, who is also the reigning Olympic champion, is expected to be feted by President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda and a host of other companies that have pledged thousands of shillings in order to facilitate what has now been known as the Kiprotich Fund. Elsewhere, 12 reigning world champions will compete in the 2013 edition of the DN Galan Samsung Diamond League meeting in Sweden. Kenya's 1500 meters champion Asbel Kiprop, 800 meters champion Eunice Sum will join a host of other stars from the World Championship in the event that is the third of the last in 2013. And still in matters athletics, there was bad news for Team GB. Britain's men were disqualified from the 4x100 meters relay after finishing third, but the women took bronze after the French team were disqualified. The women finished fourth, but the French were excluded after changing the baton outside the specified zone. Well, this first episode of the new season of Setting the Pace will look back at what has been 8 days or 9 days of first-class competition that happened at the Luzhniki Stadium in Russia. With me in the studio this evening from my immediate right is Lynn Wachira, a Kenyan sports journalist with particular bias to athletics. Welcome very much, Lynn, to the studio.
Thank you, Sadiq.
And the man that they refer to as Bangai, the 2008 champion in 800 meters from the Beijing Games, Wilfred Bungei. Welcome to the studio, Bungei.
Thanks, Sadiq.
Let me start with Lynn Wachira, or perhaps the women marathon. How did it go for you?
I think for me, definitely, it's awesome to see Edna Kiplagat becoming the first woman to win it 2 times in a row. And I think she went into the race carrying with her the Olympic disappointments. But I think she trained so hard. She knew she had competition from the Olympic champion. She knew the Ethiopians were strong. And I think for me, I knew Edna was going to be at the podium. But I wasn't just really sure if it was going to be gold because the Ethiopians were there.
And speaking of Ethiopians, there was mass disappointment, Bungei, from the Ethiopian camp in the marathon women's.
Absolutely, because the point is that Ethiopians had an upper hand compared to Kenya in terms of tyranny of numbers, if I may say so, because Ethiopians had, I would say, 5 athletes against the 3 of Kenyan athletes. And again, Ethiopians, for example, had put the top cream of marathoners there, but it was really disappointing that so many of them, withdrew in the course of the race and they were not able to finish competition.
And the person who managed to win that championship twice to become the only woman in history to have ever done that is Edna Kiplagat from Kenya, and she spoke to Zuku Sports.
I was able to defend my title successfully. Defending a title is not easy because I knew everybody was prepared to go for a medal, and they were looking for after me, and I'm happy that my preparation was okay, and it paid off today.
For me personally, I actually didn't see that gold from Chemos coming. I knew she was capable, but I had given it to the Russian because, competing at home and history being that no Kenyan woman has won a world title in the steeplechase race. I think for Chemos it was quite something, and for Lydia too. Her first championship and a silver is quite something.
People say this was perhaps the East Africa's best ever performance at Bungei, just because Kenya won it?
Absolutely. Okay, it's the best for East Africa because we know that, for example, the marathon, it's Kenya and Uganda that won. But that is for both men and women. And if you look at almost every event from 800 meters, men and women, again, it was an East African, I would say, dominance in the field of athletics there in Lusniki Stadium.
And looking at 3,000 meters steeplechase Bungei, was it news that Ezekiel Kemboi won, or where did the real story lie?
Well, I think the point is we knew definitely that whichever the race was going to be, most likely these guys was playing to the game of Ezekiel Kemboi, because Ezekiel would like a very slow race, and exactly everyone there, especially the Kenyan team, I would say they played for Ezekiel to win, because when you run 8 minutes, not sub 8 minutes, definitely it's really good for Kemboi. And I think during the discussion that we have had in the past, and we say that for Kenyans to be able to make the 1, 2, 3 final, unless they have to really run fast, because the top 3, and if that happens, then that gives us a really big chance to be able to win.
Lynn, you've covered Conseslus Kipruto. Were you surprised that he couldn't hack it this time?
I wouldn't say I was surprised, because you see, it's his first championship, like senior championship. He's competed very well in the Diamond Leagues, but I think Diamond Leagues, being the European circuit, and championships, they're two different events, and I think Kemboi is quite the championship runner. He's proved that over time.
Well, that gold medal there coming to Kenya in 3,000 meters steeplechase. Another big story perhaps was 1,500 meters. Asbel Kiprop, who spoke to Zuku TV immediately after clinching that goal, his second in this championship in Moscow.
No, I felt much comfortable today, maybe because I ran 3:27 a month ago, and I think it gave me this kind of comfort because I was comfortable in the race.
Well, the African story in this championship wasn't really narrated by Kenyans alone. There were Ugandans in this championship, a Tanzanian, and one athlete from Somalia. But perhaps Ethiopians had a very clear statement in the women 10,000 meters.
Oh yes, I think it's become a norm when Tirunesh is there. It's definitely not our race anymore. I don't know what it's gonna take a Kenyan or probably any other athlete to win in a race that has Tirunesh Dibaba, because she is this athlete. She will always look at the race, do her calculations. She's never going to be the front runner. She's always pacing, always behind you.
Bungei, what did it take during your time for Kenyans to break the Ethiopians, and especially looking at women in this race?
Well, I think the absence of Vivian Cheruiyot, for example, was a big blow to the Kenyan team, because the way I look, for example, the 5,000 meters, it didn't look like Meseret Defar that I've known for so many years, because she didn't have that same kick that she has had. And I think at the moment we have Mercy Cherono improving on her speed, and having other athletes also coming in, especially the younger ones. And what I think the most important thing for the Kenyan team is to work more on the speed, the same way that I would say Vivian Cheruiyot, for example, played.
And how significant was it that Tirunesh Dibaba and Meseret Defar decided to run separate races in Moscow?
I think Meseret really needed a medal, and I'm looking at the Ethiopian probably technical bench sitting one evening and deciding if we have Tirunesh in the race, then definitely Meseret is not going to get the gold. And they looked at the Kenyan team. The Kenyan team is good for the future, I think. The future is bright for the Kenyan team. But looking at Mercy Cherono, she doesn't quite have probably the senior experience. And for the Ethiopians, it was good for the individuals, for the athletes, and as well as for country.
And speaking of individuals, here is Maseret Defar, the new champion in 10,000 meters in the world.
Dibaba and me, we decided with federation, we give opportunity for the young athletes, the third ones for 5,000, the Buze, the 10,000, the third one. We give opportunity for young athletes, and Ethiopia needs a gold medal. Because of that, we decided like that.
The absence of a world record holder over 800 meters and the former world champion now, David Lekuta Rudisha, had a significant impact in this championship. Commentators couldn't even stop making reference to Rudisha.
You know, I mean, not having Rudisha in the World Athletics Championships, I mean, it set back the 800 meters men's team. And it was not just for the Kenyan, not from a Kenyan perspective, but I think the whole world, everyone missed David Rudisha in the race. And I mean, without David Rudisha, it became clear that Mohamed Aman, it was his race to lose actually.
And the man who has run this race, he knows it too well. Yeah. Kenya's loss was certainly other countries' game.
Absolutely, you know, look at Aman, you know, who, okay, of course, as much as we know that he has beaten Rudisha twice, but, you know, we cannot equate Aman to Rudisha, because I think, as Lynn said again, you know, since Rudisha came to athletics, he has changed the 800 meters running. Because I think we had the likes of Sepko, and then it came to Wilson Kipketer, and then, okay, of course, you know, we were there, but nothing big on our part. But then it came David Rudisha, and he asserted, you know, a lot of authority in 800 meters.
And I think, you know, I think for the Kenyans who were in that race, I mean, the rest of the guys in that race were the best against the Kenyans in the race. So,
and speaking of short races again, Mohamed Aman from Ethiopia, now a world champion for the next 2 years. But there's going to be a person who was dethroned from 400 meters women from Botswana, Bongei.
Well, you know, I mean, I want to say this, that Botswana, for example, you know, the way they, I mean, the African girls, I would say, you know, they really proved in these championships that they were very good. And I think it removed the focus, you know, from the Jamaicans and the Americans, from what we have always witnessed. You know, it has always been a battle between Jamaica and the USA. So
when we had Ivory Coast, Murela Ohore and Blessing Sokobari from Nigeria scrapping 2 medals in short races, Bungei, what was the highlight there for you? I
think the highlight was that for the African country, you know, as a continent, that, hey guys, you know what, you cannot look again, you know, to the far east, far west, if I may say so, you know, that is the US and the Jamaicans. That again, you know, in Africa we have big talents, and I think the two ladies for sure, you know, they asserted their authority in terms of the 100 meters, the 200 meters, and even the long jump.
And from 100, 200 meters to 42 kilometers, this is where Uganda is up to this particular point, just not, you know, probably stopping. No, yeah, I would imagine, not stopping to count their luck again.
I mean, it's in a span of 1 year, an Olympic medal, a world championship medal. For Uganda, that's huge. For Kenya, it was quite a shock to see that our top finisher was 9th. But then again, it comes back to, are you a championship runner? Are you a world marathon major runner? Because for Kiprotich, he's actually stamped his authority as a championship runner.
Bongei, we have the world marathon record in Kenya, and unofficially Geoffrey Mutai, the fastest man over 42 kilometers in Kenya. In one word, what statement did Uganda make in Olympics and now World Championship?
I think the statement was, he was telling Kenya that bring your top cream, okay? I think that is the only thing I can say.
Very well, and let's now listen to the man who is said to become perhaps the richest athlete overnight in Uganda.
I'm a famous guy in Uganda. Now I made another history here in Moscow, and now I believe now I'm more famous. Not winning the Olympics, but also adding another title here in Moscow.
The 800 meters has new champions, both men and women. Mohamed Aman of Ethiopia and Kenya also managed to steal the limelight in the women race. Jana Chepkosgei may have been absent, but the story really didn't belong to her absence.
Yeah, but then again, I think I still give credit to Janet Chepkosgei. She's really mentored Eunice Soum. I mean, every time you talk to Janet, she will always tell you, I might not be able to win a medal, but I think it's time for Eunice Soom to win a medal. And I think I still give her credit for believing and seeing what we didn't see in Soom.
You haven't stopped speaking about Eunice Soom, Bungei.
Absolutely, because she comes from Kaberesang, and I mean, honestly speaking, this is a region that we have really produced the best in 800 meters, whether it is the Olympics or the World Championships, for
including yourself.
Thank you.
and there was also another performance that many people would say perhaps really highlights Eastern Africa's performance, not in tracks, but in field events, from Javelin Hero, now known as Javelin Hero in Kenya, Julius Yego. You have covered Julius Yego many times. You were there when he set his first national record. He may not have gotten a bronze medal in Russia, but he came back with something different.
Yeah, I think for him it's a step each time. And he's said it before. I mean, every time he competes, for example, at the national championships, it's a new national record. At the Olympics, it was history. He made it to the finals. At the World Athletics Championships, history again. He may not have made it to the medal, but he finished 4th. And that's huge for him.
Bungei, is 4th as good as an Olympic medal in your books?
Absolutely, because I mean, this is a guy who just started a few years ago, and he was not known, and for a long time, some of the coaches who sometimes coach the Philly fans have been like, guys, don't ignore us. We can be able to perform, and I think after Julius' performance in the World Championships, I hope that he's going to be exposed more to especially this Diamond League event, so that he gains more experience and able to compete with the guys that he competed with. And definitely, he's going to medal in the future.
Very well, guys. I really must thank you for your time. But what was a highlight for you from Moscow? Perhaps one event that stood out for you?
Do I have to choose one event?
Please, one.
Okay, if I have to choose one event, then I think I choose Eunice Soom.
For me, was the ladies that really put this country in the higher note, getting the highest number of medals compared to the men.
Very well. Wilfred Bungei, 2008 champion of 800 meters in Olympics, as well as Lynn Wachira, journalist in Kenya. Thank you so much for your time and insight. That really looks back at what has been the 14th edition of the World Athletics Championship that was held in Moscow. Let's look at how the tables now stand after the conclusion. This is the final medal tables after Great Britain lost that bronze medal in 4x100 meters relay. Russia, host nation, finishing top with 7 gold, 4 silver and 6 bronze. United States finishing second, 6 gold, 14 silver, 5 bronze, 25 medals. Jamaica 6 gold, 2 silver, 1 bronze, and Kenya finishing in 4th position with 5 gold medals, 4 silver and 3 bronze. Ethiopia finishing in 6th, 3-3-4, while Uganda gets a special mention courtesy of that Stephen Kiprotich gold medal in men's marathon. While in Moscow, our reporter Elias Makori caught up with Wilson Kosgei Kipketer, a former Kenyan athlete and the current indoor world record holder at 1,800 meters, and Wilson Kipchumba Kirwa, a former Kenyan athlete, now a Finnish politician, and he started by asking Kipketer about the performance of Kenyan athletes in the event.
It's good to see the Ethiopians also winning, so the Ethiopians are coming up in 800, so I think so Kenya, I have to think now to say, we have to watch out maybe because we left the country or whatever, but I think so they have more talent. So the thing is to see that now Ethiopia are coming. So it's going to dominate now, it's going to be 1,500, you never know, maybe they will be there because 5,000 and 10,000 we have also problem here, Ethiopian and Kenya, and then now Mofara, so I think Kenya, they really have to rethink what is going to happen now in the next 2 years and then in the Olympic.
Wilson Kirwa. Kipketer talked about it's not a win-win situation for Kenya, that we have so much talent but you're not getting anything back from Europe. You've just seen Julius Yego in the javelin. Julius has been training with Tero Pikamaki in Finland. What do you think can be done to bring more of the technical experience of the Finnish to Kenya in the field events, especially the javelin?
Yeah, that's a good idea because when Julius Yego came to Finland, the coach who has been helping Julius, I studied with him in the same school, and I know those people very well, and it would be really nice because I've been talking to them and they are telling me what they could do for us in Kenya, and we've already identified about 2-3 long javelin throwers, And I've been trying to talk to these people and, you know, my fellow Finnish people, the coaches, that one who probably would like to come for a period of 3 weeks exchange programs, that the coaches will come, but we need facilities back at home first before, before, you know, like the gym, like all those medicine balls and all that, well, how they get trained technically. I am pretty sure that, and then again with Diego stands a very good chance because in Finland I've been trying to get some sponsorship so that he can get to come and train, get all the you know, everything that he needs to be a champion. And of course you remember that when he threw last year at the Olympics and he went to the finals, you know, everyone was asking me in Finland, or maybe our secret is going to get lost now. This guy might beat us, he's a threat. But I say to them, no. He's just you know, a man who is trying his best. He's the odd one out in Kenya. The Philippines are very low. We need more of Diego to be born. And hopefully we will work it out and he will get an ample time to train in Finland.
How are your feelings when David Rudisha took a record in Rieti? And what do you think about David? Is he capable of running faster than 1:40.91?
Yeah, I think he's capable of running because if you see he's tall, he's strong, he's still young, and then, you know, I mean, you know, for him now motivation could be still there because he took it in 2010, and that time I was in Beijing for the Youth Olympic, and then so I was a little bit, I didn't see. But then in London it was like, you know, it's still my record, so because I was shaking maybe 15 minutes after the race because that was really, you know, seeing 1:40.91 is really, you know, amazing, you know, even for me, like, so I was dreaming to go there, but then I didn't go there, so this was, I understood that this guy, his talent, we have now another Usain Bolt in 800, so it was, you know, you could bring Kenya in that level of Usain Bolt and the rest of the world.
Wilson Kirwa, born in Kenya, running for Finland. How has your experience been, and what are you up to now?
Well, after my sports career, I have been working with the programs for the children as ambassador of Goodwill for the schools in Finland, all of our schools, and been trying to, you know, to help see that exchange program for Kenya and Finland through cultural and education, and I've done so much that we have some through the World Vision as an ambassador of World Vision. So I've been visiting Kenya after 2 years to see those programs we have initiated.
So, what does the Kenyan public think of their team's performance in the just concluded World Athletics Championship?
My favorite race was the 3000 steeplechase, and I enjoyed to see Kemboi win the race.
Well, Kenya performed very well. I had not expected them to perform that way. Kenya has always been top, coming out top in the athletics world, and we really appreciate our athletes because they did us very proud.
Okay, my favorite was 3000 steeplechase because those who were in that race, they performed well, and we appreciated their work. Yeah.
Kenyan performance in the current level is quite appealing, we could say, especially in the women's marathon, as we saw. That one was a bit well performed. Men, we can say, I don't know, for me they didn't really impress like the women. This time round I think they went a little lower.
Well, I think we tried. I liked seeing new faces, especially among the ladies. But I must admit I missed to see Rudisha. I would have loved to see Rudisha. We understand he had an injury. But I still think we did very well. And especially seeing that we gave Ethiopia a run for their money, it was a good run for us.
Well, thank you very much indeed for your time here on Zuku Sports and for watching the first episode of the new season of Setting the Pace. Join us next week for more of this and much more. Get in touch with us at Zuku Sports. That's our Twitter handle. And there's something for you before we meet next week. When and where were the first modern-day World Athletics Championship held? See you next week for answers.